Hello there to everyone. How's everything going with you? Um, I'm trying not to say anything about time, but that doesn't come out anyway. So we'll just say hi, and I hope everybody's doing well. I've got a really short quote from Henry Ford today. The Henry Ford who started the Ford Motor Company. Would help if I could talk, wouldn't it? And it's a really short statement, really memorable because it's so short, but it's really so true and really defines, I think, the concept of mindset because people get this big idea about mindset sometimes, I think, and they don't realize exactly what it boils down to. So his comment was basically, was if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. That's it. And I think, I hope it's obvious. The idea that a lot of it or a lot of what we think tends to go along exactly with what we think. So, in other words, the moment you say, I can't do this, or I'm going to have a bad day, or this isn't going to go well, that's what's likely to happen. It becomes really, really difficult once we stick those things in our heads to say, well, all right, let me go back with the idea that it's going to be a bad day. You get up in the morning, something happens, and you say, oh, this is going to be a bad day. So your brain gets this idea, and then you start doing things and paying attention to all the things that basically make you right. So your brain can say, see, you're right. I told you this was going to be a bad day. Now, you could have other things that are going on that are going well, but you're not going to pay attention to them. You're going to notice the bad things. Because at the end of the day, you want to be able to say to yourself, brain, I was right. It was a bad day. Somebody could argue with you about how things went well, but you're not going to listen to them because you're going to turn around and give all the things that didn't go well. So you're looking at those things simply because you started your day saying it's going to be a bad day. So if you want to say, I'm not going to pass this interview, or I'm not going to pass this test, or I'm not going to do well when I meet this person, or whatever it is you're saying, you're starting to think about that. And your brain will just get a message and it'll go over and over and over. And I'm like the sign of going crazy. Yeah, you're going crazy because you're repeating that thing over and over and over to yourself so that your brain gets to the point of believing it and you make it true. So if you start the day thinking, oh, this is going to be a great day, or we'll go back to say you start saying something to the effect of, oh, this is going to be a bad day. And you stop and say to yourself, no, just because something happened and I didn't like it now, doesn't mean the day is going to be bad. And you can turn a bad day into a better day or a really good day. Because what you're doing is you're looking at those particular perspectives or those particular objects or those particular behaviors or whatever it is, and putting if you will, a spin on it, an interpretation that says that it's going to be good or bad. Now, some of you may get hung up on the idea of the interpretation. Okay, folks, and I think I've said this before, and even if I have, I'll say it again. If I were in the middle of a party and I'm standing there and you're all looking at me, you cannot all look at me in exactly the same way because you're not standing all in the same spot. So in other words, I'll just use this marker here. If I'm looking at here, you're looking at the marker from that side. I'm looking at the marker from this side. Somebody else would be looking at it from this side. You're not seeing the same thing. So each of you could come up with different interpretations. In fact, I don't know whether it's apocryphal or not. There's something I read years ago that somebody got away with a bank robbery because what they did is they painted different sections of the car different colors. And so when the car left the bank after the robbery, different people would report, oh, it was a blue car, it was a green car, it was a yellow car or something. And they were all right because the car had different colors. So if you think about it, they were very successful. I don't know. Again, I don't know whether that's true or not. But if you think about that, that's exactly what happens when people take a look at a different instance or different behavior or anything. It's how you're looking at it and you're interpreting that. So we go back to the marker, and I could say, well, okay, I'm going to be looking at this, say, so I could be looking at the white color. You might be looking at something that's looking at black. So you're going to say, oh, the marker's got black. I could say the marker's got white. We're looking at the same marker, but we're looking at it with different perspectives. We're looking for different things. We're looking for whatever it is that we're looking for. And so we're going to see those things. And then we put those in our heads. And that's the way we start thinking about that, which triggers other thoughts, and we come to a same conclusion. Because again, if you think about it, if I'm looking at white, I'm going to be thinking about certain things that you may not be thinking about if you're looking at black. Does that make sense? So that once we start making those initial assumptions, we go off in different directions and we come to different conclusions some of which or none of which could be right or wrong. Another example I'll give would be a test grade. Somebody might get a 75 on a test grade and be absolutely thrilled because that person thought that he or she was going to fail, and a 75 was just fantastic. On the other hand, the 75 could be disappointing to somebody who thought he or she was going to do really well. If they thought they were going to get an A and they got a 75, they're going to be really disappointed. The 75 is not the important thing. It's just the number. It's the grade. It's what the teacher put on the test. What it means depends on the person who's looking at it and the interpretation that that person gives to that particular number. So that when you're thinking that, oh, I can't do this, or I can do this, or I'm not going to be able to do this, or I'm never going to get out of bed in the morning, or I can't whatever, you're setting yourself up for failure because you're not going to be able to do it because you're already, in a sense, prophesizing that you're not going to be successful. So your brain will work out the ideas of doing things to you. You will also see things and interpret those things to make sure that you see it that way, and you're not going to be successful. There are a lot of people that if you read some biographies that basically have been told, well, Thomas Edison comes to mind. He got told how many times that he wasn't going to be successful at doing whatever he was working on. And he proceeded to keep on going because he knew he was going to do it. People would say something to him about, how many times have you, messed up? And he'd say, well, I messed up. It's just another way closer to getting to where I want to be. So he had a different perspective on it. He didn't look at it as negative. He just looked at it as finding other possibilities or finding out what wouldn't work. So then he would try something new the next time. And sooner or later, he found what he needed and he was successful. You can adopt the same particular attitude. So instead of taking a look and saying, well, this didn't work, so I'm just no good at it, just say, okay, well, it didn't work. Let's see what I can do to change it. How can I modify it? Because I can work and I will make something work. It may not work the way I think it will now, but I will make it work. Now, granted, there's going to be some things that you're not going to be like 12 feet tall, or you might not, if you're 4'8", you're probably not going to get into the NBA, kind of thing. So I'm not saying that this is going to go for absolute, but for the majority of times, most of us, when we get the idea that I can do something or I can't do something, the key to it is really whether or not we believe we can. Now, if any of you ever remember the story, The Little Engine That Could, or you read it to children, maybe you babysit or you've got children of your own or grandchildren or, something like that. Little Engine That Could, that's the whole point. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I know I can. Start emulating the little engine that could. If you've got children, want to be a role model, show your children what that means. Okay. So I hope that is helpful. I hope that sort of motivates you to think in terms of, how you say things to yourself. And if you think that it helps anybody else, please let them know and share it with me, share it with them and let me know what's going on. Because I really would appreciate if you let me know what you thought of today's message or today's, well, I guess it is a message quotation. So I hope you have a good day and we will chat with you later. Bye.